All right, Man Hour Nation, we are back. And as promised, we now have an interview lined up with former Major League Baseball player Andrew Romine, formerly played with the Angels, the Detroit Tigers, the Seattle Mariners, the Texas Rangers, and of course, my beloved Chicago Cubs. So let me go ahead and just welcome him onto the show. Andrew, what's going on, buddy?
Not much, Brandon. Thanks for having me, man.
Yeah, hey, not a problem. It's I've seen you on Facebook, and it's funny because we get a lot of players that I'll friend request them and we'll get them, and I never really know if it's actually the player that is on the other side of like the Facebook or the Twitter or whatever the case is. And then I saw you start, after you announced your retirement, I saw you start to post some, thank yous to the fans, and then I saw some pictures of your family and stuff that you were posting. I was like, well, maybe it's him, right? So I
or
shot a
somebody very close taking close pictures of me.
yeah, exactly. So I shot you a message, and I was just like, hey, why not shoot your shot? And you were gracious enough to respond, and I appreciate you for that. Um, so
Absolutely, man. This was so throughout my career, I never really had much of an existence on social media, and my wife and I really kind of focused on enjoying the moment, playing baseball, traveling around, and just really being in the moment of that life. And then I got done, and I mean, my connection with the fans while I was playing, I go to the field and I meet the kids, I go to functions outside, and it was great. And a lot of the cities we went to, whether it be Chicago, Detroit, LA, we had a really close connection with the city. I just never really got that internet social media thing going. So now I felt like this is really a way for me to keep in touch when I'm not playing anymore.
yeah, absolutely. And look, I mean, here at the Man Hour, our big thing is like we're live, raw, and uncut, right? And we always, we enjoy talking to athletes who have been in the sport and who have entered it, and we talk about everything, and we don't really shy away from the tough conversations, the tough questions. As you learned, prior to the show, we were having a little conversation there. We started talking about some things, and you were like, hey, oh, you got to get this stuff on camera, right? So that's kind of the gist of what we do here. But first off, how's retirement treating you? Have you gotten that itch to get back to the ball field yet?
Well, retirement lasted about a month for me, and then I went back to work. So I had
Okay.
gotten my mortgage lending license when I was still playing,
Okay.
and I had always been fascinated with that career path. And I figured as soon as I was done, at some point I was going to move into that, and that lasted 4 weeks. So I ended up jumping in back in October and getting all kinds of fun phone calls and social media work going and things that I never had to do before when I was playing baseball. And now I'm handing out mortgage loans, refinancing people. And then on the weekends, I got lessons and baseball camps and baseball teams. And like I told you before, if I had just quit baseball and walked away, I would have gone crazy without any baseball. So I'm
Yeah.
still keeping in touch, following what little is happening right now with the MLB, obviously. So
Yeah, I can definitely understand that. Life without baseball, to me, I don't know how I would do it. I'm a baseball guy through and through, so I can definitely relate to where you're at with that. Speaking of how little baseball is, we heard today actually from Rob Manfred, and I don't know about you, but I get very little excitement from hearing Rob Manfred talk about baseball. I don't know what it is. He doesn't seem to get a lot of support from players either, but he seems pretty optimistic that they're going to have a deal done and we're not going to miss any baseball games. But I'm not optimistic that he's optimistic, though. Does that make sense to you?
well, of course not, because I mean it's a business, so he's going to have to keep the people engaged and make sure that they are excited about what's coming up. Now, is his job easy? By no means is that job easy.
Yeah.
You're mediating between two entities that want nothing to do with you and want to just talk to the other side and get this thing figured out so we can play baseball games. But it's that gray area where he's damned if he does and he's damned if he doesn't. One side's going to be happy and one's not, no matter
Yeah.
how you look at this. So I don't know. It's tough to look and say you're gonna actually like somebody in his position, because really it's almost like the umpire kind of deal. If you don't know they're there, then they did a great job, right?
Yeah, yeah.
But if you have to see him talk, then that means things aren't going right. And then all you know is that's the face that you see when things aren't going right.
And we've got a few of those umpires in Major League Baseball, don't we?
I loved all umpires. I don't know what you're talking about.
You did not. It's funny. We've had the conversation on this show, and I said the same thing. If you know an umpire's name, it's probably because he's not doing a very good job. And there's a few out there that we could name, but I'll spare you that, Joe West. But
Hey, Joe West, man, that guy, he umpired my dad. And then
really,
yeah, he's been around longer than any of them. So
yeah,
I had a great relationship with Joe. My brother got to talk to him quite a bit because my brother was a catcher. So I had no problem with him other than a call that he made in one of my first at bats as a rookie, and a ball basically bounced that he called a strike. And I'm not allowed to say anything. I'm looking back and I'm not allowed to say anything because I've been in the big leagues for all of 24 hours. So
yeah.
other than that, Joe West is fine by me.
Yeah, there. I say Joe West, but I could. There's all sorts of them. Angel Hernandez. I mean, I watch some of these guys strike zones, and I'm just like, oh my word! Like I
Well,
don't.
you know what's interesting about that is, first of all, you got to remember they're the best at what they do in the world, right?
Mhm.
So, and we go look at those numbers and we look at the charts which I think these charts are freaking hilarious, man. To see these guys on social media post, this is his chart and this is the numbers and these are how many he missed. I think that's awesome. That's
Yeah,
awesome because now we have actual solidified evidence of how much people kept track of. And then you go back and you look and you're going, how can they miss this many? What's wrong with them? Well, imagine if you didn't have somebody who has been doing it for 20 years. Imagine if it was just some random guy from
right.
another level. He'd be missing like 40% of the calls as opposed to 93 or 95. And we're going, how do you miss 5%? You know what I
Yeah,
mean?
yeah. No, I get it. So when it comes to the game, I'm kind of a purist, but I also look at the game because I really do. I think that the beauty of baseball is just in its purest form. Like I love everything about the game. I love the nuances. I love the chess match. But two things that I've always been a big fan of changing is one, the universal DH. I think that that absolutely needs to happen in Major League Baseball, and they announced today that they were in favor of it finally coming to the National League. And the other thing is I've been pining for it for probably about 10 years now is the automated strike zone. How would how do players would players invite an automated strike zone?
I think right now, from what I've heard, it's like 50-50.
Okay.
Um, Pitchers will start saying that they're going to like it because they're going to catch more of the bottom and the top of the zone, and it's going to shrink or it's going to open the zone for the pitchers a little bit. But then they won't be getting the corners anymore because I think that's where a lot of obviously umpires have to set up on one side and
Hmm.
they're a little bit further away from the other one. They might get that corner. But I think the problem is going to lie in we're going to see breaking balls down at people's shins that are crossing that plane. And then you're going to have guys move up in the box to get to that. And then once they move up, you're going to see pitches crossing the zone up at people's chest, you know?
Yeah.
So it's really a double edged sword, but hitters are going to say they want it because they want to know that it's consistent, right?
Right.
And then pitchers are going to say they want it because they're going to be able to get that up and down now. So
Yeah. The one thing that I always thought that an umpire that has that zone where I mean, let's just face it, he's the most notoriable one and I almost have an aneurysm every time I watch him umpire a game behind the plate, and it's Angel Hernandez. Like I just if if I am at a game and Angel Hernandez is behind the plate, I almost feel like leaving because I don't think that anything's going to come of it. But when I watch a guy like that call the zone that he has, and I get it. I mean, look, you're a human being. You're not perfect. You're gonna miss some calls, but that just alters the game. Like it all of a sudden it changes your approach at the plate, does it not? Because now you don't know what's a strike and what's a ball because you don't know what he's going to call. So now you're almost forced to swing at everything, and I feel like that's in favor of the pitcher when you have
For
an
sure.
umpire like that behind the plate.
For sure. And they know that. Those pitchers know that. I mean, but both sides get it. So is it really a benefit to any team one way or the other? I don't think it's
Right.
benefiting any team one way or the other. I think it's just really hindering the hitters in the long
Right.
run. When an umpire is having a bad day and their zone is huge, it's tough. You start having, and guys come back, and we have video. I mean, we're not supposed to have video during the game, but we know, we
Yeah.
know when the pitch was on and when it was off. There's no secret. So coming back into the dugout when a guy's going, yeah, that pitch is 3 inches off the plate, and there's no way you can swing at it. Your brain won't even let you swing at it.
Yeah. So basically, what Andrew Romine is saying for the listeners out there is that it's okay that Angel Hernandez is shitty because he's consistently shitty.
I mean, basically, if it's equal for both sides, then you know what? Shut up and play baseball, right?
Yeah, no, absolutely. I completely agree with you though, because I've said that all the time. And look, I ref hockey. I ref for USA Hockey. I've refed at the high school level and I've refed at the junior college level. So I know that, hey, we always call the fans the idiots in the stands. And the idiots in the stands always know way more than you know, right? And so it's one of those things. And I understand sometimes you see things one way and somebody else sees it another thing. So I get it. As long as you're consistent, that's what matters.
All right, I have a solution to this, and I've thrown this out there multiple times over the years. All we have to do is send down the worst umpires at the end of the year and
Yeah.
bring up the best ones in AAA.
I don't mind that relegation system. I've also thrown out the idea of maybe a sliding scale system, right? So a sliding scale pay system. So if you get 85% of your calls correct, you get all your pay. If you get, 70 to 85% of your calls correct, you only get 75 to 80% of your pay. All of a sudden, you're going to see things tighten up, aren't you?
Yeah, you're good luck taking people's pay away.
Yeah,
The
exactly.
the
Exactly.
umpires have a pretty good union too, from what I hear. So I don't think
Yeah.
that's ever going to happen. But I don't know. I just tell people to keep in mind, it's not he's not doing it on purpose. Whoever the umpire is, whether it be Angel or anybody else, he's not doing it on purpose. He doesn't hate people. He's actually one of the nicest guys that I've ever met in my life. And I'm
Yeah.
not just saying that because I want people to like him. I'm saying it because it's true.
Right.
So when he goes out there and he does his job, he's doing the best he can. And can you really be mad at somebody for doing the best they can, but they're still there? I mean, if you're going to get mad at somebody, get mad at the people who are hiring people.
Uh,
So
yeah, that is a very fair statement. I am mad at those people too. Look, as a fan, I don't like when I see it, especially when it hurts my team during a game. I don't like to see it, but I do understand where they're coming from with the human side of things. So let me ask you this: the next question I'm gonna come at you with: do you want a softball, or you want to keep going with some fiery stuff?
bring whatever you got, man. I'm
All
not
right.
here to tell you what my favorite stadium is. And I was actually just saying the other day, throughout your career, you get so many of the who's your favorite teammate and what's your favorite
Yeah.
stadium.
All
Come on,
right,
let's
so
come up with some.
I'll just cross off half my questions then. No, I'm just joking.
I can do those too, but I
No,
mean,
no, no.
we're not on here to do surface level, right?
That's right. Hey, the man hour, live, raw, and uncut. I mean, that's our thing. So one big topic that we have, and I go at it back and forth, and we were talking about this before the show, and it's the steroid era. And I believe Barry Bonds is a first ballot Hall of Famer. He should have been a first ballot Hall of Famer. To me, I've never seen a better player step on the field. Is Barry Bonds, in your opinion, should
No,
Barry Bonds be in the Hall of Fame?
no, no. I don't think so. You knowingly took something that you weren't allowed to. So if they can prove that you took something, now keep in mind the key word there is if they can prove that
Yeah.
you took something, then no. But if he can prove that he didn't, then absolutely. But as soon as anybody is proven that they have taken something illegal, I mean, for God's sake, Pete Rose is kicked out because he bet on his own team to win. Like this
Yeah, but
is a
isn't that a
weird.
different situation though? I mean, the gambling in baseball, and I've often said this, and I've told this story on the show before, is that I actually went to a baseball dinner in Massachusetts where Johnny Bench was at. And I asked Johnny Bench the same question. And Johnny Bench said he broke the one rule that is in every clubhouse, and that's don't bet on the game. So he said he didn't feel bad for Pete at all.
You know what? There's okay. Well, the steroid rule is on the wall in every place now too.
Well, yeah, but it wasn't back when the steroid era was really going on.
Oh,
Didn't baseball make billions of dollars off of it?
So you're telling me, well, duh, they made money because people like watching home runs. But so you're telling me that he didn't know what he was doing? You're telling. So are you also okay with the all the Astros not getting in trouble?
No, I am not, and I'm also not okay with. Look, I don't think Barry Bonds is a great person, but I think on the field, I think he is a Hall of Fame baseball player because you look at the numbers, and obviously let's take the power numbers out of it, right? You take away all 732 of his home runs, and he still has over 3,000 hits.
Absolutely.
You take away all 732 of his home runs, he still has a better slugging percentage and OBP than David Ortiz, who just got elected first ballot, who also, by the way, has a positive test.
Yeah, but how long of a career is he going to have if he wasn't taking steroids for the last however long?
It would have been a lot. It would have been a lot shorter. And
so so he doesn't have 3,000 hits.
Yeah, I mean, I'll give you that. I'll give you that for sure. I just the guy was a perennial Gold Glove winner. Like when he was with the Pittsburgh Pirates. I mean, he was smaller than I was when he was with the Pittsburgh Pirates. He was a guy who was known as a feared hitter. I mean, he was still hitting 30 to 40 home runs, and back then, I mean, that was huge. Look, I grew up watching Ryne Sandberg. Ryne Sandberg's my favorite player of all time. My 6-year-old son now is named Ryan after Ryne Sandberg, and I loved watching guys like that play the game, and 30 home runs was a big deal.
I agree.
So
if you want to base it off of his early career,
yeah,
I thought he would have done enough to get in without doing anything.
I agree.
So I mean, yeah, he's numbers wise, I agree, but it's just like you said, you break that rule, just like you break that gambling rule. I mean, Pete Rose, that gambling has nothing to do with his statistics, right?
Yeah.
So why is he out? Because he broke a rule.
Right.
The rules are there. You know these rules. Like
they weren't rules back then, though. They didn't have the rules. Well, they had technically the rule, but there was no testing in place. And
this is a moral compass that you have to have as an athlete when you're standing in a room with the other athletes and you do those things, you know?
Yeah. And then, that's another one of my arguments too, is that for one, baseball knew these guys were, you can't tell me that the people in the game were not smart enough to know that these guys were doing it and then using them, and they're the ones paying the price now while everybody else is making the billions of dollars. The owners are making the billions of dollars, and they know that this stuff is going on. So then you're going to keep them out, and you draw the moral compass line there. But we let guys like Ty Cobb, who was a known, a horrible human being, into the Hall of Fame. But we draw the moral compass because these guys decided that they wanted to use steroids.
Well, don't we have to draw a line somewhere eventually? Before we let child molesters and murderers into the Hall of Fame, like, I mean, you're just going to let everybody in?
Yeah, I get it. I get the argument. I do, and I have this, and I love this conversation because I will argue it to the death that the baseball writers, and that's the other thing where the baseball writers lost me was they're picking and choosing who from the steroid era to allow in, and they're allowing guys who have positive tests in. And you look at a guy like Barry Bonds, and obviously we all believe he used steroids. but he never had a positive test.
I agree. That's where the gray area comes in. But
Right.
I also, something on the Hall of Fame, how somebody gets voted in thing. I think it's a bit crazy that writers are the ones who have the biggest say in it, when
Yeah.
it really should be current, former players, coaches, people who, your peers, right?
Hmm.
People who are the Hall of Fame, that kind of thing.
Yes.
Now, I get that they have that chance afterwards, which is great for them to be able to reconcile things that should have happened. But I don't know. I mean, it's a great topic, but I always go back to when you talk about Pete Rose breaking a rule. He broke a rule that had absolutely nothing to do with performance enhancing ability. Like he was just gambling some of his money on the side, and he still went out, played a game fair and
Hmm.
hard, versus a guy who broke a rule that was, hey, I'm going to make myself better than you and everybody else around me. And then you're now taking the game into your own hands and enhancing yourself and your team.
Right.
So
And
that's where I have a problem.
yeah, and I get that, and I think where Barry Bonds' argument comes from is the no positive test, and it's you can go back and you can say, well, look, Barry Bonds tested positive for steroids as many times as Pete Rose did. How did we know that Pete Rose wasn't using then too? How do we know that a guy like Cal Ripken, who played all those games in a row, and how do we know he wasn't taking something for the everyday aches and pains to get you through the minor stuff of going through a Major League Baseball season, which is a grueling feat in itself? That's the stuff where you start talking about that, because Barry Bonds tested positive just as many times as those guys did.
I get you on that. I get
So
you. Hey, at this point, it's either all or nothing, right? Like you either
yeah,
let everybody in or you draw a line and you say nobody. But I think the MLB is trying to reconcile this. They turned a blind eye back in the day
mhm,
because it was bringing money in. I mean, who the hell didn't want to watch McGuire and Sosa go head to head? Like that
yeah,
that was the most exciting season that I can even remember. I mean, I was pretty young, but that was the most exciting season ever.
yeah. And the two craziest Barry Bonds stats to me are the one where he had, I think it was 2003. He had more times on base than he had at bats because of all the walks.
Yeah, he had like 200 and something walks in one season.
Yeah, he has the other crazy stat is 688 career intentional walks. The Tampa Bay Rays as an organization have 650.
Yeah, it's
That's,
unbelievable.
that's so to me those stats I love, talking about the craziness of what that was, and I just find it hard to believe that we're going to keep an entire era out of the Hall of Fame, when the Hall of Fame, let's face it, it's a museum that's about the game, and it means something to be in the Hall. It's supposed to mean something to be in the Hall of Fame. But until Pete Rose and Barry Bonds and Roger Clemens and all those guys are there, I don't think it means anything, because you're taking away an entire era of baseball that, let's be completely honest, brought baseball back from obscurity because of what they did to the game in 1994.
I agree.
So
Absolutely.
I feel like if you go to a museum, you're there for the history. You're not here to decide, you know, um, what part of the history you want to talk about, right?
Yeah, well, then why don't you go build a history museum?
I would look if I would love to, but look, I'm just a poor carpenter from Chicago who really doesn't can't build that much of anything. I could build it, but I couldn't afford to keep it open. But that's just I love that conversation. I love that talk. I get both sides of the argument. I really really do. The baseball side of things, we get in right now. We just talked about 1994, and now we've got this lockout now. What are your thoughts about this? Are we? If you want to give inside information, I'm all about it, but I'm not asking for that. What I'm saying is, do you feel like we are going to end up missing games? Do you think that this is where this will head, or do you feel like these two sides will figure this out?
They'll figure it out. Now, whether or not there's games missed, I don't know. I'm not following the emails. I'm not in on the Players Association email list that's going on. I removed myself so that when you ask me questions, I have no insight into this.
That's not
Because
fair.
just knowing it and not being able to talk about it kind of sucks. But
Right.
I mean, in 2020 when we were doing it, I was watching my emails. I was watching all the stuff that came across just to see what was happening and make sure because I was getting ready to play. Right now,
Mhm.
I'm not doing that. I'm enjoying my days and not worrying about whether I'm going to play baseball this year.
You're
But
just a mortgage broker in Arizona, right?
I mean, I'm just a lender out here in Arizona, licensed all over the country in case anybody needs to get a home loan or a refi. No, but I mean, I follow as much as you probably do with social media and the news and things like that. But as far
Yeah.
as like insider information, I couldn't even tell you more than you probably know more than I do. But my beliefs, yeah, they're going to get playing, and I think it'll ramp up here pretty quick because I mean, what does it really take? They come to an agreement, they sit around for 20 hours straight and bang it out, and then they give everybody what 3 days to show up or 4 days, I think it is.
Yeah.
So it can happen quick, you know.
Yeah, I mean, you're gonna have a huge free agent surge. I mean, there's still free agents out there that have not. I mean,
Yep.
you still got, I believe, Carlos Correa. I hope he stays in Houston and rots with the rest of them. But you, you still got like guys like Carlos Correa out there. And unless he signs with the Cubs, then he's great again, right? Because
Right. Then
you gotta love
then
your own
he's the best
players.
player ever.
Yeah, yeah, that's how that works. That's how it works as a fan, right? Like, you know,
I
um,
wouldn't expect any different from a Chicago fan. You guys got to stay loyal to your team.
we do, and it's been an up and down battle, and I know you'll get a kick out of it. So 2016, right? Greatest year of my life. Watching the Cubs win the World Series finally. And my son at the time is 12 years old. And he's watching. I woke him up to come watch the final out with me. And he says, "Oh my God, they did it. I waited my whole life for this." And I'm like, are you kidding me
Buddy.
right now, kid?
Hey,
so
that's percentages, right?
yeah.
Percentages.
So I know, we talked about like, well, what's the greatest, the stadium. I want to know what fan base to you out there. You've played in all the. How many stadiums did you not play in? Is there a stadium you didn't
The
touch?
Philly Stadium was the only place I didn't play.
Really?
Yeah.
Okay. So, well, if we all know about Philly fans, so you don't have to worry
That's
about
it,
that
and
anyway.
that's a tough one to miss because I
Yeah.
hear that there's some of the rowdiest fans in baseball. Which I
Yeah.
mean, come on, I played in Detroit
Yeah.
as a utility guy, so when I came into the game, everybody's going, "Who the hell is this? Get him the hell out of here! We want to see Miggy. We want to see Castellanos." Like I
Yeah.
was not. I mean, don't get me wrong. The fans were amazing. They loved me. I had a great time there. But when I came into the game, they weren't thrilled that Andrew Romine was in the game. That means it's a freaking blowout or
Yeah.
something crazy's happening. So
And that was kind of your experience in Chicago too, I'm assuming, because you really got a bulk of your playing time last year after they made the trade of the big three, right? Like, so after
yeah,
Tony went, and then after Chris Bryant went, and then after Javi left, we had all of a sudden Andrew Romine and Austin Romine were watching the brothers play all this time, and you guys were it was funny because the team that the Cubs put on the field after they made those trades, I felt was better after they made the trades. Like it was crazy to me because I felt like the team afterwards, I felt like I was watching better baseball. And I love Anthony Rizzo, I love Chris Bryant, I love Javi. I appreciate everything that they brought to the Cubs, the World Series, and everything. But watching you and watching your brother play, I'm not just saying this because we're having this conversation now. And I was at the game where you guys went back to back, by the way. I was
oh
at the
really?
game where yeah. So I I enjoyed watching you guys play because I just felt like it was a better product, almost because for you, was it like a sense of, hey, you know what? Let's just go out here and have fun. I know that the fans are upset that these trades happen and they're missing these guys. What the hell? Let's just go have fun.
Well, there's one thing that I think. Obviously, there's two aspects to this. One, our people are gone, and as a
Yeah.
player, you know this. When you walk into the stadium and you step foot on the field, you know that the fans miss Rizzo and Bryant and
Yeah.
Baez. You know this. This is
Hmm.
this is easy. But I think that the other side of it is once the fans start to kind of calm down and realize this is the next generation. When you got guys like Frank the Tank coming in, and you got Patrick at third, watching these young kids, even like Dykeman coming in the outfield just for a cup of coffee right there. These guys are
Yeah.
the kids of the future. And
Hmm.
they're, no matter what you do, unless you do what Frank did, where you come in and you're just the greatest baseball player ever, and like Pat did, you hit 20 home runs in a month or something.
Oh,
So
that was
unless you,
insane, wasn't it?
it was crazy. And I had seen him in Iowa. We played together for a bit, and I was
Hmm.
like, this guy's something special. Like, he just needs to get an opportunity, and he goes up and then just goes off. So
Yeah.
I think that the future is bright as long as they keep these guys around. But the whole reaction to trading your team away, as people say, it gets
Yeah.
you down. It gets you discouraged as a fan, and then it gets you pissed off. So I think once people settle down and they realize, oh crap, look at these guys, like these young guys are really good, and they're going to cost them about a 20th of the price right now.
Yeah.
So so what does that do? That leaves more money open for them to go buy pitching or something, or go buy, a four-hole guy or whatever they need. So
Right.
I think that there's an upside that once the initial emotion wears off, you'll start to see it more in Chicago. But it was fun for me because I knew going into when I got called up. So Jed had no reason to call me up. There was no, hey, we need this, we need that. They decided to bring, three or four young guys up, young prospects, see what they had, and then they gifted me the opportunity to get called up one more time. And in my head, I'm standing out in the field going, I know this is it. Like, me and my wife are the only two people in the world right now who know this is it. Like, I'm done after this. I'm not playing next year. And I
Hmm.
already had that set in my head, which a lot of people don't get that opportunity to go into a baseball game in the big leagues and go, I'm just going to take this in. I'm going to enjoy every single second of this. And then to top it off, they bring my brother up and I get to freaking pitch to my brother. So
Yeah.
for me, it was a movie, man.
Yeah.
My brother wasn't even supposed to be up at that time. He was still rehabbing, and Contreras had got hurt.
Yep.
So they had called my brother up a couple days early, and I don't even know if he had his cleats on that day because he was not supposed to play.
Hmm.
And we're getting crushed by the Brewers, and Rossi's going, "Hey, you're going to throw the last inning. Don't hurt yourself," like that kind of thing. So I go out there, and I look over, and my brother's jogging out, and he comes up to me going, all right, what do you got? That kind of thing. And I'm like, all right, I got one's a fastball. And he's like, yeah, whatever. All right, just throw the ball. And so, hey, man, I got 8 appearances in the big leagues or something like that. So I'm a pitcher, dude. So
That's awesome.
he gets behind the plate, and I throw my first pitch to him as a knuckleball. And he just looks at me, and I'm going, hey, you didn't listen to the rest of my pitches. So that's your fault.
That is great. I remember, you know, I watching Wilson Contreras come up through the system, and I watched him in the minor leagues, and I'm watching this kid play, and I'm like, oh, this guy's going to be something special. Comes up to the Cubs and launches a home run in his first at bat with the Cubs, and the rest is history, right? And I watched him throw a ball to you as a runner stealing second, and I kind of saw this look in your eye. Does he have the best arm of a catcher that you've ever played with? Because it almost looked like you weren't expecting it to come in as hot as it did, almost.
I mean, his arm's amazing. His arm's
Yeah.
amazing. I don't know if I'd say the best. It didn't cross my mind that he was the best. Now, I know you're going to ask who, but I don't. I've had a lot of different throws down to second. Nobody really stands out like they were above and beyond everybody else because I didn't get to see enough of him. I wasn't
Okay.
I wasn't there long enough to see enough. And when you really see somebody for an extended period of time, that's when they become something great in my
Right.
mind. Did he have a cannon? Yeah, for sure. I mean, the
Yeah.
ball was on a line when it was coming to you, but
Yeah.
no, there's everybody up there's got a pretty good arm, and if you don't, then my assumption is you're hitting some bombs.
Yeah. Did playing with your brother your final season, was that like, how special was that for you?
I so the way that that went down was I went to the Twins for spring training,
Hmm.
and we got to like 3 or 4 days left in the end, and they're unsure what they were going to do with me. Um, I had an out, so I ended up taking the out, and we called the Cubs right away because we had a relationship with Jed, and my agent had talked to them and said, "Hey, let's come over here. We'll send you over to the alternate site, see where it goes from there, like that type of thing." And I'm going, "Why not? Like, what am I going to do? Go to another team's alternate site or whatever? At least gives me an opportunity that I might get a chance to play with my brother." So when it finally happened, it was, I mean, I was hoping, and the season was kind of winding down and everything, and I was hoping that I get a chance. And when it finally happened, it was like, it was weird because we always hoped that we would get to play on the team together. But as you go, I mean, I played 15 seasons of professional baseball, and then I'm knowing that I'm retiring, and I'm not expecting it to happen. So I was very, very lucky for it to happen. And it kind of felt like a movie almost, just playing backyard baseball. And then when I got to pitch to him, it was like topping it all off. Like, I'm throwing knuckleballs in Wrigley Stadium right now, and my brother's catching. So this is a fairy tale. Like, this is weird.
Yeah, that's it was something special. I was there for that game. It was I'm out to Wrigley as much as possible. I actually go to see a bunch of White Sox games too, just because again I'm a baseball guy. I'll watch games noon to midnight every single day. That's just I love the game. But I've seen I watched you guys play, and it was an absolute pleasure to watch you play, to watch the spark that you guys all had after that trade went down. Because you're right. I mean, look, as fans in the stands are mad. I understand the business part of the game. I was expecting the trades to happen. I wasn't as disappointed because I was expecting them. My wife was definitely disappointed because Javi Baez was gone and she could no longer look at him while he was on the field. But other than that, like, I was expecting it to happen, and so I was enjoying watching you guys all that entire team after that. I mean, you guys made some runs, and there were times where you guys would, there's a few times where you guys were up seven, and then all of a sudden we'd be tied or losing the game. But there was also a bunch of times where you guys just, it looked like you were down and out, but I couldn't turn off the game because I knew you guys had it in you to come back. And
Absolutely.
was that a fun experience for you? Like, what was the most fun experience for you while you were in the major leagues? Was that one of them?
So it was interesting because that group was unlike any other team that I had played on. So, I mean, I played on playoff contending teams quite a bit when I was with the Angels, then
Mhm.
Detroit, and even in Seattle. That the one year I was in Seattle, we had an amazing team. So when I saw the end of the year kind of coming into play in August, September, and they're calling up young guys, and at that point, I mean, you only had a couple of older guys out there between Hayward and Wright, and I mean, if my brother was catching, I guess he would be an older guy that's been around. But you got
Yeah.
Hap, and you got Bodie, and then Pee Weezy and Frank, and I mean, it was pretty cool to see the young guys come up and see them fighting, because they know that they're fighting for positions next year. They're not up there going, we're out of it. We don't care. These games don't mean anything. It was and it's easy to do that.
Yeah.
I've seen that happen on some older teams where they know, they're going to get paid. Their contracts are still going. We're out of it. Who cares? I just don't want to get hurt, type of stuff.
Right.
But this was not that. These guys were playing hard, and it was very fun from my perspective to be a part of that and just kind of go around the locker room and talk to guys and see kind of where their heads were at. And it was intense like this. And Ross never let it calm down. I mean, it's Chicago, man. Like, this is not just
Yeah.
because we're out of it, we're going to throw in the towel and nobody cares about these games. People are still showing up to the games. They still care. And like I said, they're watching the next generation right now. They're going to see what these guys turned into, and they're going to look back to 2021 and go, hey, remember when he first got there and he did this, and now he's got 5 years, 6 years under his belt, and he's got 30 home runs every season or something crazy. So
Yeah,
I think we're seeing the beginning of something special.
that's awesome. I mean, it's good to hear. It's good to hear as a Cubs fan. What other than that, what was the coolest thing you were ever a part of in the major leagues?
So excluding all the Chicago stuff, because
Yeah.
I'd like to point out that I did hit a home run off a Hall of Famer. So I mean that's you passed over it like it didn't happen. I just want to point that out.
I was gonna get there at some point because I was gonna let you know that you and your brother both had one home run as Cubs, but yours was off of a Hall of Famer.
That's right. So
I was gonna get there, but you kind of stole my thunder there.
I don't. You said most exciting. That was freaking exciting, and I've never been the type of guy to be overly excited about stuff and show it outwardly. So I don't know. I guess it was that whole like I know that this is kind of the last hurrah for me. So I just really couldn't hold it in, and hitting that was really cool. The reaction from the rest of the guys was awesome, and the dugout and everything. But my brother debuted against me. That was pretty interesting. So his first
Yeah.
game with the Yankees, I was with the Angels, and we were in Anaheim. Our parents were there because they lived at the time. They lived in Anaheim, so I got to be there when he debuted. I hit a grand slam. That was pretty cool. Grand slams are fun.
Yeah, I'm sure. What is it? What is it like when the pop of the crowd on a home run? Like that home run you hit at Wrigley, you guys were wearing I can remember like it was yesterday. You guys were wearing the City Connect jerseys,
Yeah,
and it was a 3-run game tying home run.
yeah. And
What,
it was a crosstown rivalry, and
yeah,
I'd also like to point out that the White Sox had released me in the 2020 spring training, so that's what they get. That
yeah,
that
100%. Tell them.
that's what I was thinking. I was like, all right, I'm not striking out right here. Like this something's happening, and I'm gonna make these guys up in the booth right now because I know they're up there. I'm gonna make them regret letting me go. So
Yeah.
that kind of put a little stamp on it. I like that.
And it was off of Kimbrel, who we had just traded away, and
Yeah.
he was like, "Oh, I want to go to a team and try to chase a ring." And here comes Andrew Romine, says, "Chase your ring now."
Hey, sometimes us older guys get a little underestimated, you know?
Absolutely. So, what was the fun? I know. Look, funny things happen in clubhouses. I've been inside of clubhouses. I've been inside of locker rooms. I've seen. I've been actually around some professional teams. And I've seen some funny things happen. What's the funniest thing you've ever seen in the clubhouse? That right there. No, that right. I just saw that look in your eye. There
Well,
was something you're thinking of. I want to know what that is.
I'm not allowed to tell you about that one, but I'll tell you about a different one. That's what that is. You know the locker room is like Vegas.
Yeah,
What
I
happens
know.
there stays there. You're not allowed to talk about it. But all right, I'll tell you this one was odd, and I don't. It was during a rain delay, of course, and somehow we people came up with this game where they had to guess a number or some I don't know. We come up with some weird crap. So the gist of it is if you get it wrong, then you get whacked on the head by a 5 gallon jug, like an empty 5 gallon jug of water, like a Crystal Geyser, Arrowhead 5 gallon. Yeah, I don't know. Don't ask. There's people are smacking $30 million head around like Miguel Cabrera is getting smacked on the head before a game by a 5 gallon jug. So I don't know why. I don't know why we did that one day in Detroit, but you're at the field a long time and people get delirious. So
Yeah, no, absolutely. Look, I worked in the collegiate baseball leagues as an announcer, and I've met some great athletes. Mariano Rivera's son played on one of the teams that I was announcing for, so I actually sat in the booth with Mariano Rivera for 2 hours and got to talk baseball. Probably one of the highlights of my life. But I've seen rain delays where, I mean, all of a sudden in the middle of a rain delay, these guys come out and there's music playing and they're just doing a dance off like it's freaking like they're in a movie or something, like crazy stuff. They do. They baseball players. We they they're a different breed.
And when you're playing baseball every single day for 7 months, you got to entertain yourself.
All right, Andrew. Well, I appreciate you joining me tonight. I appreciate everything that you're done. Hey, enjoy retirement. Enjoy, and when I'm ready to buy a house, I'm gonna call you. All right.
You got it, man. I'm here for you.
All right, man. I'll talk to you in a minute.
All right, sounds good.
Have a good one. All right, guys. That was Andrew Romine. What a great interview. That was a lot of fun. You guys, if you have not yet done so, make sure you click like, click subscribe. It helps us out more than you know. Appreciate all the comments tonight. Appreciate everything you guys have done. Man Hour Nation, rise up.